a very good evening to all our distinguished architect and engineers who have joined from various parts of Northeast today and supported us for our first initiative, which is called Sampark. Sampark is a platform which we have created to connect all the architect and engineers of Northeast on a common platform. This is also a part of the key initiatives that Tata Steel is taking to connect all our influencers digitally. Um, we have received overwhelming response for our webinar today, and we have more than 150 confirmed participants. Um, Before going ahead, I would like to welcome our speaker, Mr. Arijit Choudhary, even though he is not joined, but he'll be joining us in a few moments. And we have our moderator, Dr. Jayanta Pathak, who has really supported us in organizing this session and also been very kind to become the moderator for today. So thank you, sir, for that. Also, we have Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, CSM East PPR from Tata Steel, and Mr. Rahul Aditya, Senior Manager Sales from Tata Steel as well. We have Mr. Sharad Kumar Jain, MD, SM Corporation, join us today. Also, for everyone's knowledge, I would like to inform that this webinar is being shared live on Facebook on our page, that is SM Corporation. So many of the participants would also be viewing the webinar from Facebook. So before I pass it on to Sanjay sir, I would just like to reiterate that if any of you want to ask questions, then please post in the Q&A box. As Jayanta sir will be moderating today, so he will take up the questions as and when deemed fit, either during the presentation or after. So I would now request Sanjay sir to kindly share a few words before we can start the webinar formally. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rishi. So, good evening to all of you. Very warm welcome to all the architects and engineers who have joined us digitally. And I am very happy to connect with all of you. Good evening to our chief speaker, Mr. Arijit Choudhary, and our moderator, Dr. Jayanta Pathak. At the same time, a very warm welcome and good evening to Sharadji. Thank you, Sharadji, for joining. And Rishi, thanks a lot for joining and also having this wonderful meet, and so that we can e-connect together. So as Rishi mentioned, so Sampark, this is a new platform which SM Corporation has set for the architect and engineer fraternity, and this is a way to engage with all of you. So this is one forum where Tata Steel as regularly has been engaging with all of you, and this is one forum to engage with all Northeast architects and engineer community. So it's a great privilege that we are having this first meeting. Yes. And I would like to talk about few of the initiative which Tata Steel is taking. So first of all, I hope that each one of you is safe and sound, and we are all following all the precautions laid down by the government, because currently it's very important that we remain safe and we follow all the norms in terms of social distancing, whether using of mask and sanitizers, so all those things which are required. So while a lot of offices have opened in Northeast also, so as you are going to offices, so my request will be that please follow all the norms and regularly please sanitize your office spaces, so that at least we remain safe and sound, because in today's world that is the most important thing, and balance everything comes secondary. So that is just a request from my side. Today also happens to be the Environmental Day, and Tata TestCon also stands for sustainability. So my request to all of you that let us be cognizant of the fact that environment is very important. Let us, as and when we get time, whether it's plant a tree or currently as everywhere, as it is said that we should be washing hands for 20 seconds. So when we are rubbing the hands with soap and all, so I hope that we switch off the tap water. So wherever these are small things where we can save water and save the Mother Earth. And by planting trees, obviously we can increase the greenery. So a lot of things which we can do in our homes also, specifically like save water can easily be done even when we are while at home. So I would request all of you that each one of us should pledge to for a sustainable environment, and whatever in whatever ways we can contribute, we should definitely contribute, because it is at the end of the day, it is only going to help us and help our next generation, so that we can leave a legacy behind for them. Coming on to the overall engagement platform which we have for all the architect and engineer friends. So there are a few platforms which we have. So one is the e-discovery platform, so whereby Tata Steel also does webinars for all the architects, so that the knowledge of all the architects is up to date, and whatever changes are happening in the world, or say in India in terms of the various about that. And besides, for Northeast, we had launched Super Ductile almost a decade back. And because Northeast being an earthquake-prone zone, so there are a lot of practices which are required to be undertaken for building a house in Northeast. So Super Ductile rebars are there, being in seismic zone 4 and 5. So I'm sure that you all are currently using Super Ductile rebars of ours. And I would also like to thank all of you for supporting Tata Steel and being the brand ambassador for our brand Tata Tiscon Super Ductile. And would request that you continue to support all of us. A few of the new initiatives which we have started in terms of digitalization and in terms of the way of working which is going to change. So one is the webinar which we are doing currently. So I think this is the first time ever which we are doing a webinar through this digital platform. Normally, all of us meet physically, but during the current times, it's not possible. And we were actually contemplating whether we should do such kind of meet or not, and whether it will be successful or not. But then Rishi and Sharadji and SM Corporation team, they took a call that let us try it out. And I think the response which we have got is tremendous. And this only gives us encouragement to do more kind of meets. So today, I think we have a very good panel who is there. So who will be talking about the infrastructure which is going to happen in Northeast. And apart from that, in terms of a platform which we have, as you all are aware that currently the consumer may not be coming to our shops. And so we already have a platform which is in place, which is called the Asiana platform. So this is basically a website which is there where the consumer can go, log the orders, even pay online, get the facility of EMI also from a few of the banks or the credit card companies with whom we have tied up. So this is a one good platform which we have, and maybe I would urge all of you to promote this platform, because this is going to help you also and help the consumer also, because during the current times the consumer may not be willing to go to the shop, and this is one platform where sitting at home he can order it online, and we will have it delivered at his site. So that is one thing which is there. Apart from that, in the same platform, we also have the database of our Mason, whom we call the Mitra members. So wherever you face a problem of not getting the Masons, so there are certain Mitra verified Masons whom we have, and that is also there in the website. So maybe you can take the details from the website and pass on to the consumer, because currently what we heard in the market is that labors are also not available as per the requirement. So you can also we can also support the masons and the consumer simultaneously, because the mason will also get some work and the consumer also gets this service. So that also you can provide during this such times. So these are the few things, a few initiatives which we are taking, and going forward we would like to have such kind of more webinars. This is the first one, and till the time we are not able to meet, so let us keep on engaging through such platform, and it is only going to help both of us. So in all, thanks a lot for joining, and thank you SM Corporation and team. And I would also like to thank Mr. Arijit Choudhary and Dr. Jayanto Patak for the webinar which they are going to conduct today. So thanks a lot. Thank you. Over to you, Rishi.
Thank you, sir. So before taking much time, we also have Arijit sir with us. So Arijit sir, very warm welcome to you. And we have all the participants here with us who have already joined and are eager to hear you speak. So now I would like to ask Jayanta sir to please take over and start the evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rishi Agarwal. Uh, we have faced a little bit of difficulty for connections, and the weather is also sometimes creates problem. But finally, we have architect Arijit Choudhary on board. I will not take much time. First of all, let me extend a very warm welcome to all the distinguished architects and engineers from the region. This webinar has been on the Zoom platform for the registered participants, as well as this webinar has been cast over Facebook, and which is also being viewed by equal number of viewers, maybe all around the world. This is a very humble Sampark, how it is named. Basically, for last 3 months, we have been away from her as a community, engineers and architects. We have not been in touch physically. So offices are closed and businesses are going in a different way. So a thought process started. Rishi Agarwal, director, SM Group, actually called me one day and he thought of something like this over internet, and we thought that it is possible, and today we are here. I welcome all the architects and engineers, and I welcome Saraj Jain sir, chairman of the SM Group. I again welcome Rishi Agarwal. I welcome Sanjay Agarwala, CSM, East Tata Steel. I also welcome Rahul Aditya, senior sales manager, Northeast Tata Steel. I just briefly tell you about Arijit Choudhary. Arijit Choudhary is one of the most celebrated architects from Northeast India. He is a well-known personality all over the country, and he has got tremendous contribution to architecture, architectural practice, development of architectural practice, planning, master planning in this region. He is a graduate from Sir J.J. College of Architecture, and he has been the past president of Architect Association of Assam. He was also the board member of the 33rd National Games of the Architect of the Year Award organized by JK. He has been consultant to many projects. He's a very senior architect, but to name a few, he has been consultant to Assam Valley Schools. He has been consultant to Sankar Netralaya in Guwahati. He has been consultant to the Sishu Sarathi organization. He has been consultant to here addressing our engineer and architect friend from this region. So without spending more time, I welcome Arijit Choudhary to start his webinar today. So Arijit da, please welcome to the webinar.
Hello.
The floor is yours.
Thank you
Yes,
very much.
yes, Dada.
It's a pleasure to be here. But the only problem is that I'm having a little problem with the video. So people may not be able to see my face. Anyway, it's nothing there to see about the face. But we can start with the session.
Presentation.
Slide presentation. Let me first open my first share. Yeah.
You can do the slideshow, Dada.
Yes, yes. Okay, now when you are talking about today's subject is on evolution of build structures in the region. So now primarily when you're talking about that, what controls this evolution, and why do we need an settlement? It is based on basically, you see, the geographical conditions, the geological formations, the climatic conditions, the history, and the social formations, and the religious. These are the primary points which concerns us. Now, when you're talking about geographical, our area is basically surrounded by your hills, your eastern Himalayas in the north, and your Patkai Hills. So the Nagaland, then there's a wing going towards the west, which is the basically the Garo, Khasi, and the Jaintias. This is actually, you can say that this side as the cousins of the Chotanagpur plateau, which got left out from the family. Then we have Manipur plateau and the Mizoram hills. But basically, this is our geographical formation, and then geologically we have the valley, which is, and then it talks about the soil conditions. Then it gives us the seismic conditions of the location of the, so which controls our entire architecture. And then historically we have basically the plain people who are the tribals in the hills, and the religious followings are basically Hindus, Christians, and Muslims in the valleys, and in the hills it is basically is the Christians or the tribal beliefs that they have. Now, our stages of evolution has been that we can divide it into the ancient period, the medieval period, the colonial period, and the early colonial and the late colonial and the present post-independence to date. These are the periods of evolution that we have here with us. Now, in the pre-civilization, this is a timeline evolution, how we have evolved over the times, how has happened. So I'm talking about this. I have created a timeline for all. Now this is a pre-civilization, which gives us the first started with the cave dwellings. We do not have much of evidence here about the cave dwellers, and so it must have been actually very there. And then we have the nomads who went around looking for food, and they had to started with the twigs and branches and all to make their shelter. Then it followed with the bamboo and thatch roof houses with walls and mud clusters. And during the 1st century to 3rd century, this is when they started having sun-baked flat bricks. And we have evidence of this also. Then it comes to the 5th and 11th century. This is when we had a lot of stone masonry works going on here. And after the 11th century, then up to the 15th century, the brick constructions, we have the flat brick constructions. Then comes followed by the up to early 1800, we have the formal timber structures, which are initially started with as a undressed timber, and later on it went into the dressed and formal designs and all. And then we have then cement mortar comes in towards the 1800th century. 1800th century, the cement mortar starts, and with that it is followed by the steel and joist structure. The early 1900 is when the Assam type house, after the great earthquake, the Assam type house was formulated, and it gained a lot of, it became the primary design considerations in all houses and all constructions. Because the 1897, the earthquake causes a lot of devastation in the entire region. So a lot of the structures built earlier of brick masonry had all come down. Then from 1900 to 1930, around 1930, the RCC construction started. RCC came into the region, and RCC construction started in slowly. Initially, it was restricted to 2 stories, but later, after about 1930 to 1995, the buildings rose up to 4 stories in height, which is primarily, many of them were very totally unengineered buildings. But a lot of engineers were not concerned in making these buildings. It depended on more on the mysteries of the locality, the experienced pastries. After 1995, the multi-storied buildings came into the region, and this is where a serious bit of engineering also started, and it replaced the timber, and glazing became larger. Use of aluminum became also been used. Then 1995 onwards, we had the multi-storied buildings, and this became a serious engineering came into effect, because after the Bhuj earthquake of Gujarat, it became very mandatory for all to go into serious seismic design considerations. And then today, the future, with a fast pace at which we are changing taking place, we are losing our regional character, and it's a matter of concern, and we must look into this aspect. Other than geological and geographical climatic conditions, these conditions, architecture, which is part of a planning and designing buildings that satisfy human needs for physical and physiological security. In recent times, building techniques were relatively straightforward, uh, and buildings were required for relatively simple purposes as for shelters or temples and others. In, uh, in many cases, the suitable design was worked out by the members of the community themselves after a period of trial and error. This is termed as a vernacular architecture, where, where the basic needs of the community when have been remains unchanged, so that the design of buildings sometimes for several hundred years remain the same. But in times of scientific change and new conditions, bringing new materials and new techniques were developed to exploit them. All over the world, architects are working on ways to house expanding populations and to satisfy the demands for all the new and various buildings required for modern living. More than ever today, it is vital for architects to have an understanding of people, that their heritage and their needs, as it is for them to know about the possibilities and process of construction maintaining original character. The primary factors of shelter and security that governs us. Early people first found shelter in caves, and then slowly they went to which were then they went to your shelters with twigs and branches, and then later the bamboo houses with thatch started taking the form. And once people had learned to satisfy their immediate needs, those with special talents were able to form a class of artisans, which grew as a specialist, and a growth of population led to development of large communities and towns. Uh, Buildings for prestige and symbols. Mankind constant desire to leave its mark on the world, to commemorate its achievements, honor gods, or display its wealth, leading to construction of most impressive temple buildings in stone, rock cut, and later brick palaces, pavilions, etc. So the shapes of buildings were often symbolic of civilization. Architecture acted as a physical reminder of the ideal expressed in religious mythology, and created a formalized setting for the way of its life and it prescribed. And techniques and materials. It is based on the materials that is available locally, and in earlier days, methods of building were directly dependent on available or primary materials around the locality. This kept on changing with inclusion of newer primary and secondary materials. What had at first been of leaves and branches and twigs, clay and stone, at later period was of brick and sawn timber, cast iron, wrought iron, and now the RCC and glass. Now we've sort of over with our theory part. Let's talk about let's go into our what we had. See, the earliest, we are very fortunate that the region has a very old civilization. This is evident from the your excavations at Ambari at Guwahati, which which dates back to the first and first century BC and the third century AD. This actually initial excavations did not say it was so old, but it's a later editions, the excavation of 2008 and 2009, from which they found out from the findings of the potteries and utensils and the brick steps here, which gave us a time period of first century to third century AD. This is a great finding, and it goes along with your ruins of Ujjain, Madurai, and all these places. Along with the other ancient these caves. These are the caves which we found out. These are in your Pancharatna and Yogi Gopa. These places where we found these caves are there. These were also used by people, but these were caves which were man-made caves, not the natural caves. And this is another ruin which is there in Paglataka. This is in the east of no, I'm sorry, west of Pancharatna Ghat. This was not found, it was found recently, and this also proves to be of the same period of the your Ambari excavations. And and then we have this here over here. This is the your Surya Pahar ruins. These, look at the quality of temples that were built at that time. All these temples were built during the what you call is your Kamrupa period by the Pala dynasty, and this has a lot of similarity to your of the Gupta period, and many of the your sculptures and all that the carvings were very much of the Gupta period. So it also proves that there was a link of between a movement between the the north of India and then we have the Gupta. Your what you call is these are stupas. These are stupas. Also from the Sujapar area. Sujapar, that is a Sujapar is a treasure trove of all ancient findings. The most beautiful piece of art that we have in our region, and these are I don't know how many of people have seen it, but this is one of the best carvings that I have come across. This is of the same period. I think it goes back to about 11th to 13th century AD, and this was hidden for a long time. It was not known to people, but only an English gentleman, Major Godwin Austen, he found it accidentally. And Major Godwin Austen happens to be the person, the peak A2 is named after him, Godwin Austen. He was a geographer, he was a geologist, he was a multifaceted person. So this all credit goes to his findings. And so we end with that of the ancient period, and then we start with I'm starting now with the medieval period, which is of the Ahom, basically of the Ahom period. And our Ahom period is almost extends up to 1800 century, 1800. That is 19th century, and this is 600 years of Ahom rule. That is from 1200 to 1800, end of 1800. So that is when, and they built all these temples. These temples were like in flat brick with a lime mortar and a vernacular mortar. I would call it a vernacular mortar because they use a lot of other things like jaggery, like the he and other things. A lot of things were used. This is basically a vernacular mortar, and they are doing pretty good. They're still existing, and even the earthquakes did not pull them down. And this is Kamakya, and these are other Umananda, Sotlanto, and all these temples. Most of these temples which were built, they were rebuilt by the Ahoms, and they were built over the ancient temples which came down during various earthquakes, you see, and they were rebuilt again with now basically stone plinth with your brick mortars and brick with the new technology of Ahom technology to Ahom. Yeah. So these are all built by the Ahom kings later on when they changed into like converted to Hindus. And so this was the first gift to the world of the temples. Apart from your temples, they also built their for the personal use, like the pavilion. This was the what you call it, Ronghar, and as it was found during towards the end of around 1825 or so, 1828, after the British came in, and that must have been because the photographs could not have been taken earlier, and this is the after it has been same principles. We had other kingdoms also, others like the Dimasas. So then the Dimasas built their own structures like this. This was the Dimapur Gate, which was again also out of brick. And then these are the Dimasa monolith slabs, and these are monoliths. And this is a very interesting structure. This is the Dimasa house, and this is Maibong, and this is carved out of a single rock. So the house would be, the form was given is a more of a sculpture than an regularly built structure. It is not a built structure, but it was more of an engaged house. And the recent findings of the Dimasa excavations in the close to Bokazan, this was a recent one. This also proves that the Dimasas were there, even quite an old tribe of people that used to rule over this region. And coming to the end towards the thing, that is the Islamic architecture, the presence of Islamic uh, architecture or structures in the region. That is when the Mughals came, Mejumla, he built he and his army were here. They came up to, and there's a Idgah in Panbari. Panbari is close to your Gauripur, Gauripur and Bogoribari. This is his mosque, and this is Mejumla's Marzar, where this where he was buried. And this is a Maspir Dargah is supposed to be dated back to 1662 in Dhubri. And this is a Kilhaku, is close to your Hajo. And it cannot be seen now because the river, I believe, has changed course, and that is why this has become redundant sort of thing. It is on a, I believe it is these portions of are still there. I think that will end with the medieval period and come to into the modern, the colonial period, which is roughly starts in 1800. Just this is the of 1874. We have the gate. It's called the Nordwood Gate, which was built to welcome him. So it is in his. It was in Fukressor. This is the Nordwood Gate.
Okay, okay, Dada. There is a question about the type of building that in Barak Valley, around 1800 to 1900. So, what kind of buildings were there in Barak Valley around the time 1800 to 1900, 1950?
Yes.
I can answer this question a little bit. I have written back to the because I didn't get the name. It has come from a mobile name. But basic question is, what was the kind of buildings or houses? What was the kind of material used around 1800, 1900 in Barak Valley, in Kachar or those areas?
Okay, like you say what? Here, and these are the vernacular architecture, some sort of which are basically on bamboo, and thatch, and on stilts. Wherever it was required.
Perfect. Let's go like this. Yes. Fantastic. Okay.
Let's go to now. We are starting with the vernacular architecture. The vernacular
yes.
there, and it was again by experience and by use that this was all formed. It was, and from vernacular architecture to this evolution in vernacular architecture. This is a picture of a project which was again evolved out of the vernacular architecture. It's a bamboo, using bamboo weaving and bamboo walls and bamboo. So this is a sort of an evolution in this particular design. And now these are again some your traditional, your tribal houses, which are in different locations. Some are in your Arunachal. Then this is again Arunachal. Now here, one thing I found out in Arunachal here is that they used to have, these are called the Changhars in Arunachal, your Patani tribe. So they had this. They use very large sections of timber as the floorboards. Now these have been replaced now recently by RCC slab, but keeping the same size. These are normally about 2 feet wide planks, thick planks, 3-inch thick planks. But this has been replaced by your what do you call it, RCC now. These are Singpho tribes. These are again from the Singpho tribe. These are both Singpho tribes. These are Bharal Ghar of the grain house. Now, this is again another this is a timber house. This is from Kamakya, Prista. Everything it is not there anymore. Now it has been pulled down. These are from Arunachal West Kameng Hills. These are, you can look at the ladder. This is the ladder built to the house, top of the house. This is out of one single piece of timber. These are the Nok Pante house, bachelor's house of Garu Hills. This is the bachelors, all the bachelors, they stay in the village, community village, one sort of a dormitory. And this is Vanchinga Chia of Mizoram. This was also on about 3 or 5 years back, I think about 5 years back. Then the Loktak lake dwellings, which are on stilts. These are from the Khasi Hills. Khasi Hills, different Khasi Hills, also different locations. This is a solid timber post. It's a timber, they have just removed the bark and they have used it as a post. These are slate stones, Khasi stones, which is being used beautifully. It is also used now in the modern times for a lot of cladding works and all that. This is the old traditional Khasi house. Now, here we have is a monolith bridge in Jaintia. These are Jaintia, and this is a rock cut your bath. Rock cut bath is totally carved out of the rock. And this is a bridge again, another bridge. Now here, this is from Nagaland. They used a lot of slate for the roofing. Slate is available in Nagaland, so this was used for the roofing in the slate. And these are traditional decorative panels of external walls, which is earlier they used to have a lot of the wild animals skulls over here, but now they've been replaced by your carving. They have carved your Mithun heads over here. As Wangchu village of Nagaland, which is on the hill slope. And then there are your, what you call, this is thatch of the Naga thatch houses. So this is a typical Naga formation. Now we are coming to the modern, almost to Assam plains. And these are the traditional your Ikora walls with mud plaster, and now it is replaced by the cement plaster. These are again split bamboo ceiling. Split bamboo ceiling, and the details of typical Assam type houses. The roof details, the floor joint, the floor post with clamps and the timber posts. These are typical Assam type house details. And this was again a decorative panels in the houses. These were known as the Jalikota. In assemblies, they are known as Jalikota, which was a typical of Assam type affluent Assam type houses at certain times. So this is again another of the rural houses. Now we are coming to little more into the colonial period when the tea gardens started and tea plantations became, and a lot of tea plantations started growing. And these are the tea estate houses. Tea estate houses. This is a 2-story house with thatch roof with timber posts. And similar here. This is a single story. This is symbols on stilt. Again, this is on the ground. This is known as the ground. So these ground structures were known as the Mati Gors, because they were on the Mati. And this was the Kamrup. This is Bangla. It's around 1870 or so. It came up. This is a very old structure in Dhubri. It is called this is a meteorological what you call it, tower. It's in Dhubri. I think it was about the same period of about 1870 or so. Here you'll find these were again basically on the mortar, lime mortar. They are all on lime mortar was there. Around 1870, the cement did not come into the region. It was only lime mortar. And towards the late 1800s, this is a school started by Miles Bronson. This is Naga Mission School. This is a very old school, one of the oldest, in 1846. And this is known as the House of Miles Bronson. But Miles Bronson had an older house. This was rebuilt because the older house got destroyed during earthquake, which was known as the Mission House. Came to know about that Mission House today only. That used to exist from it got destroyed in 1887, and this was subsequently built after 1897. This is the oldest school of girls' school of the Northeast, the Panbajar Girls' School. It is of 1883. Yes, 1883, the Panbajar Girls' School. This is an interesting item. This is a water pump. Water pump which was there in this house, in this place. This water, they should, once you turn the wheel, water starts coming out from this pump here. This is the first school of the entire Northeast, 1835. This is the Cotton Collegiate School. The Cotton Collegiate was known as some seminary. It had a name, I forget the name today now, but this Cotton Collegiate was the oldest school, 1835. Now this, when at this school, this Miles Bronson School, all this steel was brought from England. It came from England. These are timber louvered windows. But this is another structure of 1800 period, of the late 1800, which got destroyed by the earthquake, 1897 earthquake. This is the Christ Church in Panbajar. And I got this circuit house from the net. I do not know and have no records or no knowledge about this particular structure. And there's I couldn't find any mention anywhere about this, the circuit house of Guwahati, which got destroyed in 1897. This is the house. And this is the oldest residential house of which was there until last year of Guwahati. This was the Saraswati house, family house. The Saraswatis were basically businessmen. They had their first pharmacy in your Panbajar, opposite Sekbatas was the pharmacy. That was the first pharmacy, and they were actually silk traders initially. And later, this was their house. Look at the old door handles and knobs and all that. This is again a lime mortar house. This has been, I believe, it has been destroyed now, pulled down to for a multi-storied modern house. Now I'm starting with presenting the Jamindari estate structures. These are from 1800 to 1900. This is a Jamindari estate. This is the whole structure of the Bogoribari estate. The Bogoribari is where you have the Mahamaya temple. That's and the Mahamaya temple was set up by this family of Bogoribari. These are the old structures from there. And this is their new structure. New building that this got, I think, abandoned maybe after earthquake. That's why it was abandoned. And this is the Sidliest house. That old original gate before it goes to I think Bangagaon. It's off the main road, the Bijapur. And this is the your Mechpara Zamindars. Mechpara is in Lakkipur. Lakkipur is very close west of west Gwalpara. This is the Dhubri house. This is the house they built in Dhubri, but this is the original house in Mechpara, which is in Lakkipur. These are again Abhayapuri Jamindar's house. This is the Mechpara original house, and this is the Mojadar of your Hill Salkocha timber house. This is the Bizni estate. Bizni estate was another Jabidari, which is and their headquarters is in Abhayapuri, and this is the gate and the pavilion of the estate. This is where the king used to come and sit down, and he used to meet his people. And this was the house behind this house. Its compound was this house. That is the family house of the Abhayapuri Bizni estate. And this is of the Gauripur. That this is the royal family house, and these are the colors. This is whatever it is. This is the public hall actually. Look at the intricate. These people they had got all the artisans from Chinese artisans, which came and made their houses. Again, from Gauripur estate's house, this is known as the Hawa Mahal of the Matiabad Palace. This was built completed in 1914. After the Second World War, it is got finished. It is again this was mostly in wrought iron. These wrought iron pillars, wrought iron works. These are the things wrought iron. Also, and this was also, I think it cost about 14 lakh rupees at that time. These are beautiful wrought iron works built by Chinese artisans. Now, here we have, again, coming back to the plains, the private structures of tea estate and private houses. This is a house in Dibrugarh, and this is the original house which has been renovated and made into a gymkhana now. This is Justice S.K. Datta's house. And this house is the gymkhana. And this is another tea estate house which is now converted into a guest house, royal means public guest house at the club. And this is K.K. Hendrick's house, which was built by him. This has been renovated and refurbished again. And this is one of the early RCC buildings, one of the RCC private houses of by Umakanta Borwa, 1949. It was started in 1949. It was occupied in 1951. But he had built this house. It was known as the Roya House, actually. I have to present it was designed by my father and built by him. He supervised and look, he made it for the Kaziranga Forest bungalow. This was done by him in 1953-54. This is known as the Maharana Club. Actually, it was built by the first Indian commissioner of Assam. They were the Lahiris, and so they sold it off later on, and they moved away from here. And this is in Senikuti. Now this is known as Gironi. It is in Guwahati Club. These are different structures, different houses of, this is in Lotakil, this is in Uzan Bazar. These are all Uzan Bazar. This is in Jaswantpur Road in Uzan Bandra. It belongs to your Horikhoba house. This is our. Sorry, I'm beginning to lose the names. These are all double-story timber houses. Details of timber house railings and all.
Yes, it's coming.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Dada.
This is Jain Burrows, built in 1924. This is a steel structure. Steel, they have timbers were used for joists, and then the slabs are all brick fields. So I'm cutting it a little shorter. And look at the details of the particular this house. These are the details. This is of the first political officer of NEFA. He was based in Chardwar, his house. Someone was talking about Kachar, Silchar. These are the buildings are beautiful buildings in Silchar. One is the normal school, which is there, which is also getting destroyed and dilapidated. And if people there locally should they start taking care of it as a heritage building of Silchar. But the circuit house has been beautifully maintained. I'm very happy to see the circuit house here. This is again a wrought iron and steel cast iron pillars and all. This is the circuit house of Silchar. But the normal schools, something should be done about the normal school. It was built in 1902. It's over 100 years old now. These are again some of the structures, steel and concrete. This is a bungalow, tea estate bungalow of Negriting. Negating, this was probably one of the first tea estates that came up also in the region, the Dare Bungalow. This is again with steel joists and steel members, pillars, masonry pillars, and steel for the roof. It has got something very interesting is the vent. This is the vent here, and this is the air vent, air circulator, which kept the place cool. This is Court Building. This is the again a Deco Bridge, which is could be lifted up when the ships came. And only out here, this is again wrought iron pillars and filigrees of wrought iron. Here, see, this is a mechanized brick fill, the only one that is in the entire northeast region of mechanized buildings, which was there in Margarita, Lido. When Margarita became the hub of industrialization in Assam and the northeast, they had that coal mining, they had the oil, they had timber, plywood, and all these things happened over there. So they will, and also the tea. So ART company, there was a need for timber became increased, and they wanted round the year supply of timber. So they formed this entire timber plane over there, mechanized trim, which is under a roof, so that they could get. They produced about 50 lakh bricks annually. And the quality of bricks are very good. Now this is the structure of the present, which is the RCC buildings, which is going. Amongst them is the old Kamar floor mill of 1958. Now, as the trend is of the modern times, we are going into more of steel. We are getting a pre-engineered buildings. We have got composite buildings and then pre-engineered buildings. These are things that, and more of glass is coming in. So these represents the construction. This is a composite structure, which the Netfi building was done in this method. This is the Netfi building, and this was done built in the larger spans with steel girders. And this is again where you have a large volume need. You need large volume, and for storage purpose, you can. This is what was built as a pre-engineered building. And this is a pre-engineered building, pavilion, sports hall. I think that's all. Thank you. We had a very difficult.
Thank you, Dada. It was really wonderful. I can see the challenge in bringing people over digital platform. And when we started, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible to me at least.
Yes. I can see that when we started the webinar, it started raining. And here we always take this as a good sign, you know. When it rains, when you start something new, it started raining. Because of the rain, the Wi-Fi and the internet and the mobile network, it was causing bit of problem. That's not an issue at all. But you actually took us back in timeline. You took us back into the history. And in fact, for all these more than 1 hour, I was traveling back in time. And you have this wonderful work of creating this repository of information about development of built environment in the Northeast. So it was absolutely wonderful. And we don't remember all the hiccups now because it ended so well. There has been few interesting questions.
Yes.
Dada, would you like to respond to them now?
Okay, yeah, sure.
There was initially a question about the kind of architecture or the type of buildings or housing which existed in Barak Valley during the time 1800, 1900, 1950. I tried to write something and to reply, but basically you would be the best person to respond to this particular question.
No, like I have not traveled much in the area. I have also not much idea about nothing is available on the net or anything or in written form. But like I had presented two structures or two or three structures which are of the normal school of Silchar and circuit house. These were early buildings of the 1900, early 1900. 1902 is normal school, and Silchar circuit house is also of the same period. And I have got some information on some particular building in, I think, Karimganj. Badarpur has got a fort over there. It's an old, very old fort, which was used in Badarpur fort. I think they have started reviving the Badarpur fort. That is there, but otherwise not much is actually material wise of the recent time. It is the same as in your Brahmaputra Valley. The type of construction is the same as Brahmaputra Valley, and you'll find your Barak Valley, your Sylhet, and Assam. They share a common beginning of build forms, of modern build forms.
Okay, and also while I was trying to go through few of the earthquake damage reports where they always analyze the building types, it has been mentioned that around that time we had mostly timber and bamboo structures in the rural areas, and of course you have shown that cast iron was very popular because British brought it, and also you know there are archival report about the built environment of Guwahati, which was documented by then, district magistrate or the other officers who were used to administer here. And it has been said that the bricks started coming from Durga Sarovar is a wonderful information that you have given. And once these bricks coming from Durga Sarovar plant, we used to construct few masonry building, like the Guwahati Treasury building was one of the first masonry building. In fact, many of them actually did not perform well during the 1897 earthquake. And then again, Assam type house was encouraged by the then British government, and they developed it further.
Just to, the bricks did not come from Durga. So initially it came from Rangpur. Rangpur is in Bangladesh now.
Yes.
It was again another Jamidari estate of the same Koch dynasty. So it came from there by boat, and it should take about a month's time to. So, and also not much to do. That's when the British started wanted to build. They built in Durga Sarovar area. That was the first time. And Durga Sarovar was actually originally the main platform for all the pilgrimage to go up to Kamakhya. Then the people used to come and bathe there and then move up to Kamakhya. Then what happened is that when the red line was built, it got divided.
Okay.
Durga Sarovar lost its importance.
Yes. There was also a question about how to now blend vernacular and modern. That is a challenge. How do we retain vernacular, which is built over a period of experience and traditionally developed by the local people, understanding the climate, and then we are shifting to structures based on modern material, which are imported from elsewhere. So can we somehow draw a balance between these two and still build structures which will be good for the climate and sustainable?
We cannot totally say that it cannot be done. We must also learn from Bhutan. You see, Bhutan is not staying in the ancient times or the medieval times, but they are also making modern buildings. But they are maintaining the character of the region. Once you cross the boundary of Bhutan and go into Bhutan, you'll automatically feel that you are in a different country, and it is Bhutan only and nothing else. But that will not happen with any other place. We must learn from them. And yes, it is a challenge to us. We have to also, while you are making the buildings, multi-story buildings in the modern forms and modern materials, we must at the same time think of how we can incorporate and we can use from our learnings from the vernacular architecture.
And from your presentation and from the information available, we find that Northeast is one place where maximum experimentation of different type of housing has been done over the years.
Yes.
I think you will not find so many different kind of houses and dwelling units anywhere else. In this entire region. This is because probably some of these are driven strongly by the culture.
Yes.
And some of these are driven strongly by the local material, and some of these are driven largely by the colonial, influence, because British wanted to use steel. British wanted their steel to come and being used in buildings. That's why we have so many cast iron structures all around. And when you had shown the Abhayapuri Jamindar house, I personally visited that house and shown around by the then, custodian of that property. And Jalikata and other cast iron grills are so nicely done. And he informed that all these were done by the Chinese nation, which
Yes.
came from China and helped them to build these structures. So we have wonderful history in this region to study. And there is a question about prefabricated buildings. Of course, that's quite a common term, but there was a question about what is prefab structures, prefabricated buildings. Would you like to say a little bit about that for the benefit of the participants?
Well, this is more of an engineering part of it. Anyway, I think prefabricated is what is not at site. Basically, the term means that is what is not at site. It is done in a factory, and it is a factory assembled building. So that is basically a prefabricated. Even all your floor slabs, floor walls, everything is done all factory made. Now we have a prefabricated. I think the Sorusazai housing was done is a more of a prefabricated. If I'm not totally prefabricated, but it's a mix.
It was cast in situ walls, RC walls.
Cast in situ walls and all that. Yes. We do not have a total example of a prefabricated unless it's pre-engineered. Pre-engineered is different again from prefabricated.
Yes.
I think I can also add on a few points on this.
Okay, maybe in another occasion we may discuss about pre-engineered and prefab houses. But there is a challenge about bringing these prefab houses and pre-engineered houses. As you said, that houses are looking similar all over the world now. It is erasing the history and culture of a place. Like in Bhutan, they have a strong development control, which is not similar here. In fact, I had a question put up by architect Amitabh Sharma. He was asking as to what can be done still to save these heritage structures that you have shown. And these heritage structures are going, either we are demolishing them, they are not maintained. So the few of them we have, which actually talks about our culture and past and history, should we not conserve them and keep them in good state for people to come and see that this is our past and how rich we were in culture, and that we used to have these wonderful buildings here in this place in once upon a time. So you have any opinion on this, or you have any suggestion to preserve this heritage structure?
What can be done is the main problem is the issue is about funds. The owners of a particular heritage house, they do not have the funds to take care of them. So what can be done is that we can engage some corporate house, give some incentive, and you ask them that you sponsor this, take care of this house. One particular corporate house can take care as a CSR project, can take care of a particular heritage house. And so you see today, most of the tea bungalows are taken care of because it is they are managing to do it. And similarly, if we can engage one house to some organization to take care of the house, and you give them some for doing the thing, maybe we can give them some incentives and all that.
Okay, that's a good idea. And lastly, there was a query about use of bamboo as a building material, and it is still being used in many areas. And bamboo actually survives the climate, and bamboo is so good even under soil that it doesn't get deteriorated over time. But only problem with bamboo has been, it has been mentioned by one of the participants that it is not fire resistant. So you have any idea as to we can still use bamboo for certain work, and can we make it fire resistant using certain product?
Yeah, yes, of course, bamboo has been is more of a psychological blockade that we have about using bamboo. Now, why the person who asked you mentioned about the fire hazard part? You see, fire has to reach the bamboo. You cannot keep the bamboo exposed. It has to be treated with some or cladded or plastered or something like that, fire resistant material. So if you stop that So bamboo gets protected. Bamboo is only used as a structural or some other as some material, but not as a directly facing the because by itself as a bamboo screen, it will not also give you privacy in a house. You will need to cover it up. So that covering material has to be fire resistant.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So let me check the question box if there is anything that I have left unattended. There is a question: when exactly masonry structure started coming up in Northeast? Any idea of that?
Masonry again. What sort of is it cement masonry or is it traditional? We have a vernacular masonry also.
Yes.
Vernacular masonry, when I talk about vernacular masonry, the vernacular masonry is the thing that we traditionally, like your lime, jaggery, and then your this bell. We used to make a paste out of that, and that is also that. But that was there before also. It may
Yeah.
be from quite almost time immemorial.
Yes. Yes. In fact, the structures built by Ahom dynasty,
Yes,
these
yes.
structures were built by masons brought from elsewhere, and they
Elsewhere.
brought technology of that time or
Okay.
material of that time, and they actually transferred some technological know-how to the local masons. So some kind of masonry started around that period itself. Could be
Yeah.
around 1500, 1500.
In one of my slides somewhere there, it was
Yes.
mentioned about the cement masonry coming in. When that cement masonry, I think 1838 or something like that.
Okay. Okay. In fact, there is another additional rider to the question raised by architect Amitabh Sharma. Architect Pritam Nath has asked a question whether is there any effort or research to document these heritage structures as yet?
I don't know it. Anybody, maybe someone can assist me and we can do the work jointly.
Okay, that itself is a wonderful answer. So there are distinguished participants here who are expert in their own field. So
Yes.
probably this area is open to somebody to pick up and jointly work with you
I
to
can.
do something in that
I
area.
am always open for receiving any information from anybody. Like I just mentioned today that I have just received a photograph of my sponsor's mission house in Nagaon today,
Okay.
just a little before the meeting. So that is how I'm receiving things.
Okay. Okay. There is a long question here. Uh, Prince Datta. In many European countries, even in small countries like Bhutan, Indonesia, they have strict norms of construction of building facade, roof design and architecture, where they have to follow their typical style of architecture, which reflects the tradition and heritage. But here in Assam, even after having such beautiful style of traditional architecture, none of the government authorities showing their interest to take such initiative to conserve the heritage and study of style of architecture. Is there any way out to bring laws and all? So it's the same thing, same concern. Everybody is concerned about preserving, and your presentation brought back some pride in our heart because you have done a wonderful backward integration of what we have. So when we go forward and use more, smart materials and other, technology, can we actually respect what we had in the past? And some of these are well tested and they have performed at the time of disaster or climate change already. So this is one of the similar concerns shown by one of the participants. So I thank you at the end for this wonderful presentation.
I want to mention one thing. Yeah. Like we lost Cotton College, which was supposed to be the first college of the Northeast region. It was
Yes.
demolished by the government. And similarly, we have also lost the first RCC building of the region. That is the Oriental Insurance Building,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
built in
So
1938.
yes. Yes.
That was the first RCC building of the Northeastern. That is, we lost that also.
Yes. So I think we have some kind of responsibility. Some people in the government may not realize this, but I think there is a responsibility with us to, bring importance to these things. And maybe building bylaw through master planning, we can actually, in the system itself, we build something so that these kind of heritage structures are protected. Of course, there is some few questions about earthquake and all. all. And Engineer Sandan Gupta has raised a question about building high rises in Guwahati or in this area, whether it is all right to build high rise structures in seismic zone 5. Would you like to answer that?
That is, I think, more of your question. Anyway, whatever, you see, today's we have engineering which is so rich today, and we have learned so much from our. I think there is no restriction about high rise. It is how you engineer it, how you do your calculations and all. I think we can always take it as a challenge to build higher and higher.
Yes, and just for I just take 1 second to say that taller the building becomes safer in terms of earthquake. So that can be explained on some another day. Taller buildings are safer building sometimes, and so we don't have to worry about the height of the building, provided the geotechnical setting allows the height of the building increases pressure on the soil. If the soil can take it, it can always be designed as a safe building. And steel can be used because when the height of the building increases, the steel could be a good material, as well as the ductility of the building is very important. So that's why the reinforcing bars, which are quite ductile and strong, are good for taller buildings. So there are technology available and it can be done. So in fact, Abbas Fatehi actually came back with the question. He said, I mean Freemasonry building came up in Northeast. When did Freemasonry building came up?
The Freemasonry building, well, we do not have a Freemasonry building here. There's only one in Shillong that belongs to the Freemasons. Otherwise, other than that, yes, there was one more Freemasons building in Tezpur, which became the commissioner's house office now. That is a very unique building also, and it is there, still there. It has been there. Even the government has the local commissioner over there has put a plug saying that it's a Freemasonry building.
Okay.
Yes. I'll explain to Abbas separately.
Okay. So we have, yes, Dada.
Did you mention Abbas Fatehi?
Yes, Abbas Fatehi.
Abbas Fatehi is from Bombay. I'll speak to him later.
Okay. So we have participants from all over India. Thank you very much, all the participants, for your, you did bear with us with a bit of technical snag here and there. Everybody is, connecting from home, and home is not a place where you have all the technology in place. So, in fact, Arijit tried to do everything on his own to be on the safer side. So he did extremely well with the technology also, and we express our deep sense of gratitude for all the hard work he did to bring up this presentation today. And actually, he made us all proud today by throwing back in the timeline and showing us the kind of structures and housing we developed in Northeastern region. So thank you very much, Architect Arijit Choudhary, and I fondly call him Arijit Da. In Assam and Bengal, we call Dada, the senior fellow, we call Dada. So Arijit Dada, thank you so much for bringing up this wonderful presentation. I thank all the distinguished participants. I thank Mr. Sarad Jain for sitting through the whole presentation from SM Group.
Thank you for seeing you after a long time.
Yes. Nice to see you. Yeah. Nice to see you. Yes. Thank you.
I'm seeing you after a long time.
Yes.
You're looking very good.
Yes.
I thank Rishi for organizing this on behalf of SM Group. I thank the gentlemen from Tata Steel, both Sanjeev ji and Rahul ji. So thank you very much from my side. I hand it over to Rishi Agarwal.
Thank you, Jayanta sir, for the excellent work done in moderating the session today. Thank you, Arijit sir. I think it was a very well encapsulated presentation, wherein especially for us young people, because we would have never got to see such amazing structures and architecture that actually is there today all over the Northeast, spread across Nagaland, Meghalaya, and various parts of Assam. So actually, it takes our curiosity to go and visit these beautiful structures. So thank you on enlightening us on all these uh, beautiful structures. So as Jayanta sir mentioned, that the hiccups actually caused by rain brought good luck today, and I feel that this good luck will continue and will surely bring success to Sampark, and help us in reaching our goal, which is to connect all the architects and engineers of Northeast and share the knowledge that this fraternity really has, and help each other grow within the region. So without taking much time, because we have already been delayed, so I'll not take much time, but I'll just say that please stay tuned for our next webinar, and we'll keep you all informed, and please help us to make this a success. So thank you so much, take care, stay safe, and a very good night. So thank you so much, Jayanta sir, Arijit sir, once again.
Thank you, Sarajji.
Thank you.
Jan Patak, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So,
and once
entire
thank
architect
you
engineer
all.
community for participating in this session. And we as steel makers and steel suppliers are always very interested to know the feedback of our architect community. So thank you and wish to see you again in the next webinar. Thank you, everyone.